having an open mind to really get feedback and ask for advice. I think that is something that changed in our generation, Danny, to maybe the CEO generation that is retiring now, where it is less the CEO needs to be the strong person that never asks anyone for advice. It would be a weakness. And I think more in our generation, it is you have peer networks, you have mentoring relationships a lot more. It's a different kind of networking than it used to be in the generation of managers that is retiring now, is my personal belief.
The Industrial Sage Executive Series, sharing the stories behind game-changing executives, their organizations, and insights into today's industry challenges.
Well, hello and welcome to today's Industrial Sage Executive Series. I am joined by Kai Beckhaus, who is the president of MCJ Supply Chain Solutions, all the way down in Houston, Texas. Kai, thank you so much for joining me again. This is your second time on.
Thanks for having me, Danny. Good to see you again.
Great seeing you. So obviously a lot of things have changed since the last time that we spoke. And I think we're going to get into that in this episode. But before we do that, for those who maybe did not watch the first episode and don't know who Kai is or MCJ, tell us who you are and what you do.
So, yeah, my name is Kai Beckhaus. I've worked in the material handling industry basically all of my work life, and was an executive at Jungheinrich, which is one of the two big material handling equipment companies that are the parent organization of MCJ Supply Chain Solutions now. And our mission is to bring Jungheinrich automated forklift trucks, AGVs, and all of the automation technology they have to the North American market, the US, Canada, and Mexico. And the second material handling partner that is a joint venture partner here for us is Mitsubishi Logisnext Americas. And with that setup, we have a good basement for all of the spare parts, the mechanical service, so that we can focus really on the system, the software integration, and bringing those material handling automation projects to life to support our customers with their supply chains.
Fantastic. So, last time we spoke, and I'm trying to remember, I believe it was April
right at the
or May.
Start of the pandemic, if I recall correctly, right? We were just going into lockdowns and
so approximately 5 years ago. At least it feels like it was 5 years ago. Anyways, no. Okay, so we're March-ish, April. Obviously, a lot has changed. When we spoke, at that point, there was a lot of unknown. I mean, there's still a lot of unknowns, I feel like, but there were certainly significantly more unknowns at that point. Now we know a few things. There's a lot of pivots have been made. A lot of things have happened. How has MCJ changed since that time?
Yeah, obviously we spoke at the beginning of the pandemic, so there hasn't been a lot of change. All of us had to, customers and ourselves, really adapt to this pandemic and how to behave it. It has been a long time since the last pandemic occurred, so none of us had that experience in our work life. So we had to cater for employee safety, obviously, and go into an economic downturn for the first month, but then picking back up and seeing a lot more automation demand, because people realized automation is the thing that helps even when workers can't come in, when there's lockdowns, and supply chain resilience is very important to get all of the essential goods out to everyone.
Perfect. Yeah, so you mentioned, obviously that you've had a lot of change. You mentioned there's new products being rolled out. You mentioned that there's an increased, higher demand. What does the future look like for you? How's it, I guess, altered your future?
I believe when you look at different industries, the automation, when there's big manufacturing like car manufacturing, robots have been in that area for very long. There has also been AGVs since the 60s, but the degree of how many automation projects are deployed is just so much smaller than in other spaces. And I think this pandemic was an accelerator for that. There's a little over, let's say 1.2 million forklifts sold every year over the world. And that ratio of automation, whether it's AMRs or AGVs, it's just so slow right now and small right now. So it's going to grow significantly. And the pandemic was a boost to that. So I would say it is a permanent thing that automation will be more important. And a lot of clients, whenever they have a bigger fleet of forklifts to buy, will consider, is this something where automation makes even more sense than investing in operator equipment where we need a human workforce to run these fleets, to do the supply chain processes that are required. So I think that's going to be a permanent change for the whole industry, and adapting to integrating those solutions to existing environments. That is one part where with the logistics interface, the middleware software that we utilize, it's becoming more and more important to have quick implementation time, seamless integration into the system, because you don't want different islands that don't work with each other. Also, the collaborative factor, very important, whether it's AMR or AGV. This is typically a lot of human interaction, especially when you have free-ranging AGVs there. So it's going to be very important to have all of that collaborativeness in the products, and that's going to continue. So we'll see a lot of development and growth in the material handling automation sector over the next years to come.
Absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. Now, relative to MCJ, what were some of the pivots that you had to make to adjust that? And this could be, pivots that you had to make internally from a way of working, as well to maybe pivots to business model or products.
Yeah, well, internally, obviously, travel was restricted in the first pandemic. So what we did is typically we in a sales project and really walk the facility with the client to do two things: to really check all of the environmental constraints, see where is special things we need to cater in the AGV solution, and also to consult what's the best processes. Maybe the customer has something in mind, and with the expertise walking that site, we would recommend, hey, we might want to add that, or let's be careful here. So all of that had to go virtual, and it worked out well. We were a little nervous at the beginning. Hey, will we catch everything that we would used to? But our clients have been really great. They're working with us, reserving the same amount of time, 4 hours on site, and just walking the site on a Zoom or Teams call, and that really worked out well. So that's an adjustment that where the new technology supported us a lot. I think that with all of these products, Zoom and Teams, the pandemic, you could say, came right at the correct time. Imagine this would have happened 10 or 20 years ago, where all of this digital technology that we use, video conferences and so on, wouldn't have been that far developed as they are now.
So doing these kind of like virtual site inspections, if you will, I mean, you said that you're doing them through Zoom or Teams. I mean, were people walking through like with an iPhone or something saying, hey, all right, here's this and here's that, and you were able to kind of replicate that by doing that?
Correct. That's going to be, we had a clear layout where we discussed and could talk. There was really a good dialogue on that, so that we said, okay, let's focus on that. Can you please zoom in a little bit here, go closer to that, describe that process to us, all of the handover interaction points, so that we make sure we deliver the same perfectly customized solution that fits that automation demand of the client as we would have done with an on-site visit.
So, I mean, that's obviously a big change and a big challenge from a sales perspective. Do you anticipate that, is that going to remain? I mean, obviously virtual experiences don't 100% replicate something that's done in person, but in some cases, we find that it's a little bit more efficient. You reduce travel time and whatnot. Are you seeing or expecting that may be something that you'll keep or go back, or a mix of the two?
I think it will be, as with the internal workforce, likely it's going to be a hybrid mode. I think a lot of business interactions, B2B, understand that it might not be that efficient to jump on a plane, have a full day or even 2-day trip for a 2-hour meeting. So I think a lot of those will be kept on a video conference where it's a professional setup, and you can discuss topics, clear out some contract language, let's say, things like that. But the longer meetings, when it comes to a site survey, when it comes to the implementation crew being on site and really teaching in person rather than remote, all of those, I think, will resume to normal. It's always good to have that personal relationship as well. And to my experience, it has always been a lot easier to do a very good and deep connection even on a virtual call once you have met prior to that in person at least once, right? Yeah. So when you know a person, then it's very good to reconnect on Teams and Zoom, but establishing new business merely via video conference can be a challenge. There's a lot of areas where this works too, but I think it will be a hybrid, that there is some travel to meet in person and then follow-ups, and especially those shorter meetings being diverted to having video conferences.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're seeing that a lot, across the board as well. Now, you mentioned too that how you had some new products that you had developed. Were these in response to the pandemic, or is it something you already had on the roadmap?
Now, yes and no. It's really both. We had a few facelifts to our products, the Stacker and also the Tugger model as a response to the pandemic. It was also the enhancement of auto hitching and unhitching, so that it's even a more fluid process there when you pull tuggers to seamlessly connect the trains that they carry and unhitch as well. And in general, on the roadmap, we had also to go to the biggest form of AGVs that we have in our portfolio, which is the automatic VNA truck. Very narrow aisle, high density storage, really. And that area is one area where it's really important to go for automation when you want to have a high throughput, 24/7 operation very often in that area, and having the storage capacity at the highest. And a lot of customers that opt to investigate into that solution really see an AGV VNA application as an alternative to an ASR, as automated storage and retrieval system. So that is something which we had on the roadmap to add, and are bringing to the market now, working on the first project here. So that's a good addition to the AGV portfolio to really automate the full process, full material handling of clients, and being able to cater to all of that demand.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like it certainly kind of helped to expedite things a little bit more to be able to bring those in there. And it sounds like those features, from a product standpoint, really are more permanent.
Correct, absolutely. And the good thing is a lot of customers really want to investigate automation. And what a learning for us was to give the customers the flexibility. So let me give that example and refer back to that VNA. The Jungheinrich product portfolio is designed that it's the same truck, whether it's completely manually operated, whether you go halfway with the automation and go with the semi-automation, where there's still an operator on board, but all of that driving from the truck is automated already. So it's just giving full throttle speed, and the truck stops at the correct destination. And then the third level, which can be also extended on the existing manual equipment, is the full automation then. And that gives the ease, so that clients say, okay, I want to start, I have manual trucks, I want to go with the semi-automation first. And in half a year, once we come out of the pandemic, we have everything sorted, I definitely want to be prepared for the next one. So I'll upgrade to full automation then. And that is something where we see this interaction, collaborativeness, that also an AGV might be operated in times. Clients really like to see that, the ability to hop on a vehicle and drive it manually there too. So all of that flexibility, I think, is even more important now, being prepared. You don't know what the times are going to be. Are we going to go into an inflation now, what some of these economists say? So people want to be flexible, and an AGV solution that can also cater for that is very important to really adapt to whatever requirements our clients have.
That makes a lot of sense, as you mentioned, sort of future proofing, and it kind of sounds like you're able to give people a stair-stepped approach. I really like the flexibility piece, because you're hearing a lot of stories of a lot of companies having to switch up their supply chains and the way that you might import goods, or whether it's raw or finished. I mean, all that was changing, and so with your existing infrastructure there, if it's very I guess more permanent, that was a little bit more challenging versus saying, hey, well, we really needed something that was more of an AGV here, but now we need to go a little bit more manual for the moment, and then we can switch. That sounds like a really great solution to bring adaptability and flexibility, and certainly, as you mentioned, for the future, who the heck knows? Hopefully we don't go through something like this again. But inflation and all these great, wonderful things that nobody has any idea what's actually coming down the pike, right? So
correct. And I think that's the same for the workforce. Flexibility is really important for yourself as well. It's a lot different now to manage a business. You need to be flexible, be able to react fast. And I think we all proved that at the beginning of the pandemic. Everyone had to install new protocols of how to deal with this and now change it. And also for the hybrid work mode, I think a lot of employees, that's something that will change. Every company is looking at having more flexibility. I'm not a fan of the extremes, so I would not say 100% home office, we work remote is really good for a company, but also it's not being 100% in the office. It's really what's best for the day. Is there interaction? Is there workshops? Is there brainstorming? That just works better in person. But when there is really individual work, everyone can be concentrated and can save the commutes to any office. So I think that is something that will definitely stay from the pandemic, that there is more flexibility offered by companies, but also demanded by the workforce.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely seeing that right now. So, one of the things, kind of a fun question I like asking is, if you had a magic wand, I'm giving you a magic wand right now. What are, one of the challenges in the industry that you would want to see solved, or, taken advantage of, we could flip it and say, hey, there's an opportunity. What would that be? And one caveat to your answer can't be, I wish COVID would go away. Or whatever,
Yeah, that's right. No, the next crisis is going to come, so we have to cater for that. Good question, Danny. Let me think. I think one thing that I would really wish with a magic wand to change is on an openness on the client side. I think a lot of customers or material handling equipment users are just used to, they have forklift fleets, and at some of those it would be really a perfect use case for automation, but they just don't consider automation. I think to some people out there, automation is still something, we talked about it earlier, the car manufacturing, OEMs, whatever. So really those robotic arms manufacturing cars, but automation has advanced in so many areas so that we have a higher pace of replacing manually forklifts with automation by just talking about it. And I think this consultative approach, a lot of clients value that. And the second thing that goes with that is often it is advisable for clients to really be open and just say, hey, I have this operation manually. Dear vendor, what would you recommend? Do you offer a recommendation for automation, and how would that look like? But instead, some people ask, I have 5 forklifts of type A. So what is your replacement of type A automatic version, right? But maybe type B would even be better for that use case in the automatic version. So this openness to being consulted, but raising that thought, yes, automation might help me in my situation, and I'll inquire about it, and I'm open to talk about it. I think that is something that would help the users, all of these supply chain operations out there, as well as vendors as MTJ and Jungheinrich brand here that we represent, about our competitors as well, to really see more of that interest in the automation and adapting to that and talking about it, because there's a lot of demand and a lot of potential for our industry out there, as the ratio when you compare more normal forklift trucks to AGVs is just so small. It's around 1% or 2% at max, I would say, and when you look at the worldwide ratios there.
Absolutely. Well, a great answer to that question. Yeah, if only we could be more open to these solutions and say, hey, this is a viable solution to solve a lot of challenges that we see, I see, you see, and being able to have, facilitate those discussions and look at how these solutions in your specific use case are viable. So yeah, that's great answer. So my last question, is another fun one I like, is what are you doing as a leader to really stay at the top of your game, leading your organization? You said you kind of, a little bit of a startup here in the U.S. What are you doing?
That's a good question. I think it comes back to this flexibility we have talked about, right? And to stay flexible, it's important to have discussion. And I would say two things really as an answer. The one thing is obviously you want to read things, right? So I like to read books from other business person. Last thing I read was from Tillman Fertitta, who is owner of the local Houston Rockets basketball team here, and also a lot of restaurants and so on. So that is a book, a little bit more from the B2C side, but a lot of good ideas he mentioned there. So I enjoyed reading that, as well as just with a weekly newspaper. I'd like to stay informed on how business is developing in Europe as well. So I read one European Newsweek there, Business Newsweek as well. But even more importantly than reading is, to me, really the connections and talking to other people, and having an open mind to really get feedback and ask for advice. I think that is something that changed in our generation, Danny, to maybe the CEO generation that is retiring now, where it is less the CEO needs to be the strong person that never asks anyone for advice. It would be a weakness. And I think more in our generation, it is you have peer networks, you have mentoring relationships a lot more. So I was fortunate to have really good bosses throughout my career, and even in the position now with a board of managers and family and friends to really discuss certain business topics and get ideas and adapt those to really see what's the best fit for me, and get ideas and think about the right strategic implementations for your own situation, the own business at this point in time, and then also paying it forward and supporting younger folks with being a mentor there. So I think that is something where we are in a really good setup these days, with a lot of networks and maybe social media and video conferencing there helped a lot too. It's a different kind of networking than it used to be in the generation of managers that is retiring now, is my personal belief there.
Yeah, no, I love it. Reading, love it. I have to check out the book that you were talking about, to read that. But then also, I love how you mentioned that you ask advice, and that is a big shift from maybe the outgoing, CEOs that have been established. And you're right that I think that would have been perceived, or was traditionally perceived as maybe as a weakness, versus saying, hey, let's look and see, maybe there's some great ideas that somebody sitting in the corner, that is introverted and whatnot, and they have some amazing idea or something that pops up. So I didn't even see that, and somebody who's going to be, a little bit more and, closed, and you engage and open. I love it. I think that's.
And the good thing is you don't have to take all of it. There is advice. I like to listen to everything. It doesn't mean you adapt everything, right? So you still think about it and can really cherry pick for yourself. But all of those ideas and from discussions, I think that's a very good way to really get ideas. As you say, some persons that would not raise their voice if not asked. And I think that's very, very important to keep in sync and keep up to date. Learn a lot from others, and driving business forward. The world will remain flexible. Flexibility will be very important in the workspace, but also especially for those people managing those companies. So I think that's hopefully, I totally agree to you. We don't get another pandemic anytime soon. That was enough for a career for all of us. But the next challenge will be around the corner, and there's so many things like cybersecurity that has been a topic now, which 10 years ago that was a total different level. So there's many different areas where it's very important to remain flexible and learn and adapt to be able to be prepared, and when certain situations occur, react quick, being able to empowered to react quickly and thoroughly.
Absolutely. Well, Kai, listen, I've really enjoyed our conversation. We've unpacked a lot of different things. I've loved hearing your feedback, hearing your answers to some of these questions, and learning about how MCJ has pivoted, kind of what you've learned, different things that are going to, stay permanent, like this, this whole, sales hybrid model going, we think, yeah, we got some virtual, but then in-person is going to come back. And just, solving challenges in the industry and what you see going forward. I really appreciate your insights, and I know that everyone of our subscribers are going to love it as well. So for those who are familiar or want to learn more about you guys, and go to mcj.team. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Correct. That's our URL where we have all of the product portfolio and link to the Jungheinrich brand of automation equipment that we represent, and give an overview of what we do. Perfect.
Well, Kai, again, thanks so much for your time.
And
thanks, we'll maybe we do this, next year. We'll do it, we'll just see.
I'd love to come back. Sure. Thanks.
What has happened, because I'm sure a lot's going to happen over the next year, and there'll be all kinds of things. So thanks again.
Thank you too.
All right. Well, that wraps up today's Industrial Sage Executive Series with Kai Beckhaus, who is the president of MCJ Supply Chain Solutions. You can go to mcj.team to go check them out. Thank you for watching or listening. Listen, if you are not subscribed, go to industrialsage.com. If you're watching this on social media or listening, and you're not on our channel right now, go to our website, and you need to subscribe because you're missing out on great content like what you just heard here from Kai. So you can learn from other professionals in the industry, see what they're doing and learn. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I'll be back next week with another episode on Industrial Sage.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode. Get notified every time there's a new episode by signing up for our email newsletters. You can also subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, please leave us a review so more industrial professionals can find us. Want us to tell your story? Go to industrialsage.com. This week's episode was produced by Rika Wiersma, filmed and edited by Optimum Productions, and our executive producer is Danny Gonzalez. Thank you for watching Industrial Sage.